The recent real estate agent commission lawsuit out of Kansas City that found the NAR and a couple of brokerages guilty to pay $1.8 billion in damages and threatened the ability for sellers to pay buyer agent commissions could have some major impacts on us. Now, how does that relate specifically to VA loans? VA loans, there's allowable and unallowable costs. For example, as a VA lender, the VA limits us to how much we can charge directly to a buyer. For example, 1% rule. The 1% rule means that we as a lender cannot charge a borrower over 1% in origination or underwriting fees that are related to us. Now, fortunately, we're generally a lot less than that, but it caps us. And that helps make it so that buyers with VA loans are limited in their expenses. And that rule's been around for a long time. So now with the potential for buyers to have to be paying for their buyer representation and to pay for buyer compensation potentially, because the whole point of the lawsuit is that we might be eliminating the ability for sellers to pay for buyer agent commissions, how do VA loans, and the VA specifically in their guidance, view real estate agent commissions? Well, it's kind of like the lender 1% rule, but right now it's actually 0%. So when we pull directly from the VA what their statement is on allowable and unallowable fees, an unallowable fee are currently buyer agent commissions. So it's just straight out of the VA pamphlet. It's under Chapter 8, and you look at Section 3, Paragraph C, brokerage fees. So I'm going to read straight from it that I have here on the phone. Fees or commissions charged by a real estate agent or broker in connection with a VA loan may not be charged to or paid by the veteran purchaser. While use of buyer brokers is not precluded, meaning that you can use a buyer broker as a military member using a VA loan, veteran purchasers may not, under any circumstances, be charged a brokerage fee or commission in connection with the services of such individuals. Since information on property available for purchase and financing options is widely available to the public from a variety of sources, VA does not believe that preventing the veteran from paying buyer broker fees will harm the veteran. That was a whole mouthful. They're essentially saying, hey, you can go ahead and use a buyer agent, but boy, you can't put those commission on the buyer side. And then lastly, they say, because of all the information out there, the ability for financing options and such, they don't think that's going to harm the buyer. That's a little frustrating, that kind of end part, essentially saying, hey, because all the information's out there, I guess, that they don't need to pay for any buyer representation. Really, my interpretation of that is that because for over 100 years, we've had clear cooperation policy like related stuff where sellers can pay for buyer agent commissions, the VA is trying to protect VA buyers from getting tacked on extra commissions on top of what a real estate agent might be receiving from a seller. That's just my gut assumption. But how it is technically written, commissions and any fees from real estate agents, not able to go on the buyer's side. And if you have ever charged a real estate agent a transaction fee and that got kicked back to you on a VA loan because it was on the buyer's side, you understand that. They're not allowable charges to a VA buyer. Seller can pay for those things, but a buyer cannot. So now all of a sudden, if this court ruling ends up leading to where sellers cannot pay for buyer agent compensation on the other side, where it could be a big deal on VA loans, is that the VA right currently is very clear that buyers can't be charged those commissions on their side. So all of a sudden sellers can't, buyers can't. How's that going to work out? Big question mark. Now that's not to be all doom and gloom. How it's written is pretty clear with it. We've made our phone calls. That's how the interpretation currently is. I think there's definitely the ability for those things to change if the whole court case works out the way that some people are thinking it will, and that sellers won't be able to pay for buyer compensation. We're working on some other solutions around it, but just be ready that if you're a real estate agent or you're a consumer, a buyer going out there and looking for a home, know that this whole lawsuit issue could have some major impacts on how you handle the commissions in your next real estate transaction on a VA loan. And it's also going to affect other loan types, because currently in the environment where sellers are taking care of that cost, the whole commission cost, it means that it doesn't go on the buyer's side of a loan. So all of a sudden, conventional FHA and VA, if it's going to swap to where buyers are paying that full cost, there's going to be some impacts on the loan side as well. So keep that in mind. My name's Evan Kaufman, your VA loan originator. Hopefully this helps you go out there and win a home with a VA loan, especially in a potential new environment. Take care.